ready for Freddy.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, and this time I'm once again reviewing a DLC as its own video because we're looking at Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin, the 2023 DLC to the 2021 horror game that seeks to answer some of Security Breach's lingering mysteries and redeem the franchise after the base game was seen largely as a disappointment.
Not like this, please. Give me in, Freddy! Freddy, you bitch!
I've covered or explained every game this series has to offer, as well as doing my best to piece together the tangled threads of novel similarities and scattered lore, so watch that playlist back if you need a refresher course. Did Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin accomplish what it set out to do, or did it ruin the franchise, leaving it a destroyed, empty husk of what it used to be? Let's find out as we give it everything we've got! The game begins with a glimpse at what the former Neon Nightmare has become and an introduction to our new leading lady, Cassie.
Gregory? You there? I got your message.
Now, in between Security Breach and Ruin, a few things were learned about our former protagonist, none of them good. In the book Tales from the PizzaPlex number 5, The Bobby Dots Conclusion, what a name, there's a story called GGY in which a kid named Greg hacks into the PizzaPlex's animatronics, corrupts their code, and uses them to kill his counselors and friends when they get too close to finding out what he's doing. It's not hard to see how that applies to the game, as that story also reveals that Gregory is Patient 46 from the discs you can collect in the base game, so outlook isn't too good on our so-called hero. Back with our new and hopefully actual hero, Cassie, she ventures deeper into Defunct Land with a conveniently located complimentary entry flashlight, and this one doesn't run on Alan Wake time. That's what I get for insulting the staff bots so much before. While Security Breach captured the feeling of the liminal space that is an abandoned mall, Ruin instead goes for the dread of a, well, ruined building. Seeing the remnants of what used to be a bright and lively place, helped by the fact that we actually saw it in that happy stage. Like if we got to explore Rapture at its peak before seeing it in Bioshock. Cassie continues on and finds a brilliantly named Roxy-Talky on the ground that Gregory is desperately pleading through. She picks it up and he explains that something grabbed him and trapped him in the sinkhole under Roxy Raceway. Oh man, Cassie, are you concerned for your friend?
That's all the way on the other side.
Yeah, that's a valid response too. Also, Walrus is exactly my kind of comedy. Cassie climbs up the elevator shaft, unfazed by a cursed elevator almost crushing her like she was Chica in a trash compactor, and crawls through a vent only to be sent crashing into the kitchen and a pile of cockroaches. It's truly the scariest thing here. Okay, scratch that. Cassie pushes through and comes across a Faz-Wrench, because that's what wrenches look like, and she implies that her dad used to work here. So that's something. The Faz-Wrench is tied to one of the main gameplay mechanics in Ruin, as Cassie will use it to open doors locked by these tube puzzles. You have to fill them so that all the wires are in the blue at the same time. Through the dark, through the door, through the joke I made before, Cassie can catch a fleeting glimpse of the Blob, which also serves as its only appearance in this game somehow. When I heard they were making a DLC, I expected the Blob to be a focal point. They just dropped that steaming hot pile of Geiger spaghetti in our laps and have yet to elaborate further. Unfortunately, the only way forward is through this pipe as Cassie refuses to crawl under that fence. Hopefully it won't be too bad. I get claustrophobic. I did not factor in the alligator. Cassie awakens in what remains of Monty Golf with no choice but to crawl through the haphazard deconstruction efforts to find a way out, hopefully unimpeded by robo-gators.
Hi. Free mask. Please take a mask. Take a mask. Take a mask.
Why are you even down here? Side note, in an exceptional bit of pranking, fans were told that their beloved Map Bot would not be returning in Ruin. Instead, we have totally new character Mask Bot, who gives Cassie a mask that should be raising all the red flags like you're a girl on TikTok who considers any slight personality trait that doesn't fit your definition of the perfect man as a red flag. This is the same mask that Vanessa, aka the player, collects in Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted's Curse of Dreadbear DLC, along with being the one she wore in Security Breach for the 5 minutes she was on screen. Once Cassie equips it, Helpy explains that it has given her access to Vanny, or the Virtual Augmented Neural Network Integration Unit. Basically, this security mask allows Cassie to see a whole new world from a new fantastic point of view. It allows her to walk through walls and objects that don't exist in the Vanny world and collect AR collectibles. And collectibles actually have descriptions in this, though there aren't any upgrades. The descriptions are pretty much just flavor text, but hey, Cassie and I have the same all-time favorite animatronic, right on! Another Faz-mazing benefit of the security mask is the ability to disable the wet floor bots scattered around the PizzaPlex, though never around any wet floors. Also, I have named them all Melvin and will continue to refer to them as such from this point on. As is the standard in this series, this seemingly arbitrary and never mentioned task unlocks a very big secret much later on. Further on, Cassie finds a camera station.
Gregory! Are you there? Hey! That's my voice!
Wow, you were able to do that from the few words you've heard Cassie say? Just imagine what that power could do if you had, say, a whole game of recordings or something. Cassie can find a working Monty Golf arcade cabinet as she treks on that you can actually play, featuring 9 holes that were cut from the version of Monty Golf you can play in the base game. Despite something we'll see later on, this doesn't appear to have any secrets or anything tied to it. It's just a fun minigame. Speaking of secrets, along with the collectibles found in the AR mode, there are also collectibles in the real world, though not as many, and most of them are comics of the endings from Security Breach that the descriptions go out of their way to say were drawn by Gregory, thus implying that they aren't the canon endings. As for which one is implied to be canon, we'll get there later. Cassie's Roxy-Talky lights up as Gregory demands Cassie shut off all the security in the building as he can't escape until she does. Sure thing, old buddy, old pal, that doesn't sound suspicious at all.
I'm in danger!
With this, we are introduced to the other main puzzle in Ruin. There will be parent nodes represented by a red rabbit, and child nodes represented by red objects in the vicinity around it. Cassie has to find and deactivate the child nodes with the Faz-Wrench before she can deactivate the parent node by playing Little Maze game where you have to connect matching symbols. Sounds simple enough. Or it sucks! All of it! All of it's awful! This intruding anomalous entity is constantly after Cassie, though can only get to her when she's wearing the Vanny mask. It basically acts on a timer, bursting into existence if you wear the mask for too long at one time. Keep the mask on longer after it's already appeared, and an animatronic will pick up on the signal it sent out and come to kill you for him. It wouldn't be too big a problem, except that the nodes are only visible with the mask on, so you have to carefully balance how and when you use it. It's a brilliant bit of development that creates similar limitations to things like the doors in the first game or even the Freddy mask in the second, while also having that limitation be an actual threat just waiting for you to put the mask back on. With all 3 parent nodes in the area deactivated, the Zap Zap door is looking a lot more inviting, so Cassie welcomes herself on in and progresses past even more nodes to come to this moment with Monty that really should be scary, but it's just funny. You can make an argument for it being intimidating, but that argument doesn't really have legs. Oh, sorry, Monty. Cassie moves further on and discovers another type of puzzle when confronted with a camera system that only works in AR mode. She has to scan the camera and quarantine the anomalies, aka find the symbols on the cameras. It gets more stressful when there are more symbols as you have to do it in a forced order, and somehow it makes objects disappear.
No way. I walked through a big screen and now I'm in Superstar Daycare? No way this is real. That screen was there before I looked at the camera. I swear.
Alright, Helpy, this situation is bad enough. I don't need you gaslighting our girl boss. Now in the daycare, which to many is the scariest part of Security Breach, we have to find a way across to the theater. Hopefully these creepy endoskeletons everywhere won't become a problem. Naughty. It's time for your nap. Dang it, if only this place had windows. Cassie actually made the smart decision of walking into a decrepit house of horrors during the day, but this is the only room where that would really matter. Hopefully we'll be able to see the sun again.
Freddy? No, Fred! I am trapped in a gap! Reboot! We need to be whole!
You want me to reboot you? With this?
Lights on! Lights on! Turn generators on!
Not what I meant, but I'll take it. So we once again have to traverse the daycare and activate generators to turn the lights back on for sun. However, I'd say this time around isn't done as well. The main problem is that there's no threat here. Moon just stands in the center of the room and doesn't go after you. The only real threat is the entity if you take too long in the Vanny mask, with some scripted encounters thrown in. I get that Steel Wool probably didn't want to just repeat the daycare segment from the main game, but just don't include the daycare then. Moon is able to roam around the entire PizzaPlex. You could have had a section with him anywhere. The one bit I do like is that that it appears as Moon in the real world and a sun in the security mask world. And with all the generators on, Cassie unites the two worlds by resetting the animatronic.
Happy birthday! Warning, warning! Child in danger! Safety mode active. Little girl, you can't be in here. It's dangerous. I need to clean up before we can open in the morning. Oh, this place will be flooded with kids. Come back soon and have a Faz-erific day.
Wait, Cassie's favorite animatronic is Roxy, and the game relates to her birthday? We really are one and the same. Speaking of Roxy, shout out to the daycare worker who has a framed photo of her on their desk for some reason. And now it's time for me to be punished for saying that last bit wasn't scary, because the weeping endoskeletons are back in the house to prevent Cassie from disabling the next parent node. If there are two things I fear most in video games, it's mannequins and things that only move when I'm not looking. And I am not looking forward to playing Resident Evil 8 one day. More endos will activate with each child node deactivated, though interestingly, they can't see Cassie when she has the Vanny mask on, finally explaining why Freddy couldn't see Vanny before. That's already more answered questions than all of Security Breach proper. Now inside the daycare theater, Cassie's anomaly quarantining creates a giant endoskeleton that seems to have killed someone in a Spike Chunsoft game. Choosing to climb directly into the giant robot's mouth, that always ends well, plops Cassie right into a vent.
This vent is creaky. I really hope it's...
Wow, Cassie even has my penchant for saying things that are immediately contradicted for comedic effect. Now we get to see that ride above Monty Golf. You know, the one that Monty rode in the way that cool stepdad sit on a chair backwards. And fittingly, it's all about Mr. Montenegro Gator. It tells the story of Monty taking after his good friend Emmett Otter and starting a jug band, but instead of saving Christmas with his ma or whatever the f, he is scouted by the Fazbear gang, giving us our first look at Glamrock Bonnie, who gives his electric guitar to Monty, and after receiving a rock and roll new haircut from the totally normal and not even the slightest bit attractive Roxy, takes Bonnie's spot in the band. And in typical Fazbear fashion, this is all a cover-up for the true story, which is hinted to be that Monty lured Bonnie into Monty Golf, where he then destroyed him so he could take his place in the main band. We never get any hints towards why there's no Foxy, though. I get wanting to replace him in the main band with a more visually appealing and less terrifying bot, but he's not anywhere to be found. Roxy being in the band in the Monty origin story implies that it's been this way for a while, though Foxy was never really a part of the main show. He's always been a sideshow act. Cassie jumps off the ride before it crashes because kids are fearless, and it's at this moment that I realized my gamma was set to 100 for some reason. I turned it down in a bit for all you purists out there. She now has to venture across the ragged old crosswalks above Monty Golf, using the ball blasters to shoot targets in lower platforms and avoid falling off the weirdly slippery platforms, though there are some glitchy doorways to help her out.
What happened to it?
Yeah, with my help, I have been helping with the signal jammer. That rabbit thing won't bother you anymore.
Alright Cassie, you may be me in video game form, but you didn't think to question how in the Roxy-loving Gregory was able to update Helpy from where he's being kept? With all the nodes deactivated, Cassie can reboard the ride and take it up to its maintenance bay.
You did great. You're getting closer.
How do you know? How are you doing any of this?
I'll explain it all when you get here. That thing is here again. I gotta hide. Cass, save me, Cassie. Please get back on the gator gondola and go to the maintenance room.
See, now there you go. Though you better ask how Gregory managed to talk over himself. Cassie emerges in the kitchen and is still unfettered from her mission to find her friend. Everyone, find yourself a Cassie. Preferably in your own age range, or you might make friends out of the cops instead.
Chica?
Oh great, we escaped the alligator. Now we have to face the Chica Vader. At least the entity isn't a threat anymore.
Ow! 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 I got kicked out of the Vanny network. You said you got rid of that rabbit thing. What happened?
Damn it, Gregory, you are fucking worthless! Also, why does the entity have such a big shit-eating grin? Unfortunately, that's not our only problem. You'd think being cut off from the Vanny network would make things harder, but it really doesn't, because Chica isn't a big threat. Just walk slowly and use the cameras to lure her away, and you're home free to run your little legs into the bathroom and play Chica's Feeding Frenzy, the only other playable arcade game in the game. And it's 20 levels of shoot 'em up fun / torture depending on your enjoyment of so-called shmups. There is a reward for beating the game, though, as you'll randomly receive Chica's voice box, which Gregory stole from Chica before and should still be in Freddy's chest. Once you do that, or completely ignore it, the other turn brings Cassie to the signal jammer, where she can disable it and then disable the nodes, allowing her to escape the bakery and head on into the neon fever dream that is the server room. And the entity just kind of watches this happen for a bit. By crossing that, she has emerged into the glam rock beauty salon.
Poor Roxy.
Huh? Who's there? You can't hide from me.
Roxy, mama, you look different. Did you do something with your hair? Maybe a new skincare routine? Cassie has to explore the entire salon exterior to disable the nodes, the first of which is a perfectly intact Roxy portrait that I definitely would have taken with me. How many perfectly intact things are you going to find in this place? Well, aside from the signal jammers, as one activates after every node you disable in this area, so you have to sprint to it and deactivate it before the entity gets you or summons Chica.
She is such a bad bitch though!
But at least we get to see some adorable memories of Cassie and Roxy accompanied by perfectly intact cardboard cutouts of Roxy. Alright, look, there comes a time in every man's life where they must use their free pass and say, I'm not a furry, but that's hot. You can take your Lola Bunnies, your Judy Hopses, your female lions from The Lion King, okay? This is my moment.
Yeah, that brother's starving.
Also, with all the nodes in this area deactivated, Chica will limp her way into the bathroom and collapse, which is the one opportunity to give her back her voice box. It doesn't do anything, as Chica isn't seen after this point. It's just something you can do. And as far as it seems, you can't give Monty his legs back, though you can find them, and you can't give Roxy her eyes back, which seems strange given that she's Cassie's favorite. Cassie moves on to a Foxy log ride that had never been mentioned before, and someone clearly missed this in their proofreading because there's a massive contradiction here. According to Cassie, the log ride was her favorite, but also the log ride never opened up due to safety concerns. Well, which one is it then? Is this a Schrodinger's cat situation? I hope not. I've had enough of that dude and his maybe dead cats. And dang, how far did Roxy run in that time? And if she's chasing after Gregory, how did she see him? He's supposed to be trapped under the PizzaPlex, and she's not supposed to be able to see. Cassie, you really need to be thinking about these things. I mean, what else could be occupying your brain space right now?
Monty?
Alright, yeah, you get a pass on this one. I too hate the water monster section from Amnesia. This isn't nearly as stressful as the classic though. There are plenty of platforms to hop between, and you can see Monty in the water, even though, by my calculations, he should have shorted out by now. Guess my math was off, but the result is still the same. Monty is permanently out of commission, and we have finally arrived in Roxy Raceway and caught up with the big bad wolf herself. Cassie mimics Gregory's voice to lure Roxy away and make her open up the paths forward. Then Cassie casually avoids attempted vehicular homicide because she's come this far, so a little thing like a go-kart driving full speed towards her face isn't gonna stop her.
Give me back my eyes!
Ah! Let go! Let go!
I'm sorry.
You know what I call this moment?
Vindication!
Gregory! I'm in Roxy Racers. Say something!
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. What happened here? It looks like the whole place fell in.
Something tunneled out. Broke everything. Now I'm stuck here.
I really think I need to go get help. Or call the police.
What? How is that supposed to help?
Alright, Gregory, I've had enough of your shit. Do you really need me to spell out how an army of armed and dangerous men in blue could help take care of some deranged Terminator wannabes keeping you hostage? In order to find Gregory, Cassie has to deactivate the remaining nodes in Bonnie Bowl and Phaser Blast, because apparently that's how it's pronounced. Past some weird disappearing plush babies is Bonnie Bowl, my least favorite part of the DLC, as it's been overrun by mini music men. What you're supposed to do is use the intercom to lure the moshing mini mechs away from the node they're crowding, but sometimes they don't all follow the intercom for some reason, so you'll just get killed anyway. At least there's a checkpoint after each node, and the music men in the general area of that node will be deactivated along with it. This room is also where you're supposed to get the payoff to deactivating all the Melvins. I say supposed to, because it's bugged and doesn't actually fully work. See, by taking all 26 of them down, another one will spawn in right here in Bonnie Bowl, and disabling that one will open up this curtain, which leads to the shattered remains of Glamrock Bonnie. It's a great secret and a cool way of paying off the hints of Bonnie's fate from the main game. I just wish it actually worked properly. Since there's no free roam, Ruin has a chapter select, and it tells you if you've gotten all the collectibles in that chapter. It saves the collectibles and progress you've made, as well as the Melvins you've deactivated, but that last part doesn't matter. If you don't start the game from the beginning and get all 26 in a row without missing one, you're not unlocking the secret. You have to get them all in one run. So yes, I played through this DLC a second time just to get this clip. You're welcome. Once you're done with all that, Cassie slides through a vent in Bonnie's former green room area right into Vanny's old room above Phaser Blast, where the giant yellow sword and creepy pixelated bunny imagery help clue us into the fact that the Princess Quest ending is the canon ending. And if you'll recall, I had this to say about it. This final ending is the one I choose to believe is the true ending until proven otherwise, because it's the most complicated to get and it's the only 3-star one. Put one on the scoreboard for me. Wait, if that's canon, doesn't that mean that Freddy should be around?
Freddy! Freddy? Are you okay? Be functional.
Oh, that's the one. Or is it? They make that prototype label on his foot very clear, despite the fact that his foot did not have that in the base game. So is this a completely different Freddy that somehow also lost its head and ended up in Phaser Blast? Or is this the same one and Years of Decay just revealed the prototype label? I'm sure we'll get the answer like 5 books from now. But yeah, Monster House Freddy is terrifying and a great way to flip and reverse the safety that used to be his chest cavity. Cassie disables a nearby inhibitor and puts the Vanny mask on, which makes Freddy invisible and also makes Cassie invisible to Freddy. So Freddy couldn't see Vanny and Vanny couldn't see Freddy. I guess that explains how she walked right past him and didn't do anything. Also, you'd think the whole "so no head" thing would mean Freddy can't see you, and you'd be wrong. He will sense your location the second you take the mask off and start lurking toward you. Luckily, you don't have to walk very far at all, and then you can kiss Freddy goodbye for the rest of this DLC. With the final parent node destroyed, we re-emerge in Roxy Raceway, where we should finally be able to save Gregory.
Cassie, can you hear me? I finally have a clear signal.
Gregory, I shut down all the security nodes. I'm in the Roxy party garage. Am I close?
Almost. There's still one node left that's keeping the underground sealed.
Where?
Roxy's the final node. You need to deactivate her.
But...
Deactivate her and save me. Save me, Cassie, please. It's so dark down here.
What? But she was so nice to us earlier, and she's, you know, nice to us. This task may sound as physically taxing for Cassie as it is mentally, but not so, as Roxy has found herself trapped under a forklift like she just got pinned by mankind during halftime heat. You'd think this would be the perfect opportunity to give her her eyes back after winning them in some arcade game or something, but that would just be cool and fun. 2 words that cannot be used to describe what comes next.
Cassie. Cassie. Welcome back, Cassie.
You remember me?
Your special day. I remember. Your special day. Do you still like carrot cake? It has been some time since I saw you last. If I remember correctly, it is on the 11th. I remember because you are number 1. Twice. Have you booked your party? I'm sure your friends will show up this time. Cassie? What are you doing?
So sorry.
I love carrot cake. Happy birthday, Cassie.
Roxy. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Alright, Gregory, you better be hiding with $1 million cash prize because that's the only way your ass is worth all this. Also, have you booked your party yet? I'm sure your friends will show up this time as one of the saddest two-sentence stories I've ever heard. Also implying that Roxy is Cassie's favorite because she's the only friend that showed up to that party. Couple that with Cassie's quiet sobbing as she descends to the sunken pizza palace, and you have firmly cemented her as my favorite Five Nights at Freddy's protagonist. Not that there's really many great options. Deeper into darkness and losing her guiding light, Cassie wades through water that is too red for my liking and enters the old pizzeria, finding Faz tokens aplenty along the way.
I am a candy cadet. Come get your candy here. I have candy all day, every day. Candy.
Holy crackle on a Mars bar, it's Candy Cadet! Further proving that this is the location from Pizzeria Simulator. You know, the one with the darkest pit of hell open to swallow William Afton whole and all that. Candy Cadet is what the Faz tokens are used for, as there are many in prize boxes throughout the game, though all you need is 5. Now let's hear the story of his.
Now I will tell you a story about a mother and her little boy who lived alone in a cabin in the dark woods. There was a monster in the woods, but the mother caught it and kept it locked in the basement. The monster always made scary noises at night, but the mother would tell the boy not to worry because it could never get out. Then she would sing the boy a lullaby to sleep. One day, the monster stopped growling and instead listened and learned the lullaby. The next day, when Mother went out to find food, the monster sang the lullaby from the basement. The little boy heard the lullaby and opened the door.
No, I'm sure that's not important. Let's focus on the fact that we finally made it down here and Cassie can deactivate the security and save Gregory.
Are you in there?
You saved me! You saved me.
Gregory? I'm Gregory. You're not Gregory. What are you?
I'm Gregory.
Cassie! Get out of here! Run!
Cassie, can you hear me?
Gregory? Is that really you? I mean, really you?
I've been trying to reach you all night. I'm not at the PizzaPlex. Something's trying to trick you.
You're a bit late. This thing in the basement sounds just like you. How do I know this is you for real?
Is there another option? You need to get out of there now.
How?
My friend has access to the building maps. Just follow the instructions.
You all doubted me when I said Roxy was my favorite, but no one's laughing now! And that's definitely the most important aspect of that scene. I'll explain everything in a minute. All you need to know right now is that this game has 3 endings, and this chase scene is the diverging point. In the seemingly canon ending, Cassie follows the real Gregory's instructions out of there into an elevator, where he explains that he was never trapped down there, and that creature lured Cassie there by copying Gregory's voice so it could escape, with the Mexis security program, the blue rabbit entity hunting us in AR mode, was trying to keep it locked away, in a way, making it the good guy. He doesn't blame Cassie for helping it escape, but out of fear of her knowing too much and him being followed, drops the fucking elevator in an attempt to kill her, though a post-credit call-out from a concerned Roxy implies that Cassie may still be alive, setting up either a security breach 2 or another DLC. Or maybe setting up nothing. You never know with this series. The next ending is easy to obtain, just do the opposite of what Gregory says and you'll find this Fredbear cutout that leads you to this scene, implying that Gregory and Vanessa started working together after they escaped and he freed her from the glitch trap virus. The final ending is way too complicated to get for how little it matters. See, there are 4 specific camera systems in Ruin that have a hidden camera, only accessible once you zoom out of the map. Each one shows a door opening. Once they're all opened, you'll be able to run through a different door during the final chase all the way into the scooping room, where the giant, now suited Robo gets the ice cream treatment. Now I'm sure some of you want to know just what the heck is going on around here, and that's where I step in. See, Gregory was never trapped in the PizzaPlex. It was all the work of this endoskeleton. It did exactly as the monster in Candy Cadet's story. It learned Gregory's voice from observing him and copied his voice to lure Cassie down to it. As for what that creature is, it's called the Mimic, and it's a rogue artificial intelligence program that has learned from the actions of William Afton and thus become a ruthless killing machine. The Mimic is another thing set up in the books, and we really need to have a serious discussion about how nonsense it is that horror anthology books have become required reading to understand anything going on in modern FNaF, but not right now. The Mimic is the central antagonist of the epilogue through line in Tales from the PizzaPlex, with its origin being given in Tales from the PizzaPlex number 6 Nexi in the story fittingly called The Mimic. It started as a basic AI program fitted into an endoskeleton to interact with an inventor's son while he worked. Eventually the son was killed in a car accident and the inventor attacked the Mimic as it had learned from his son and began to act like him. It is eventually found in the inventor's workshop many years later, having learned from the violence and rage inflicted on it, becoming a brutal killer. We then flash forward in good old Tales from the PizzaPlex number 5 The Bobby Dots conclusion to the short The Storyteller, a story that has become very relevant now given that it revolves around the PizzaPlex's entire creative department being laid off and replaced with an AI. That AI is, of course, the Mimic program. It's put in charge of the entire mall, altering the personalities of the animatronics and generally making the building go rather wacky.
Go mentally deranged, yeah? Go brainless, yeah? Go wacky. Go positively bonkers, yeah? Go mad, bruv. Lose your marbles, yeah? Go fool.
It's also mentioned that they plan to use the AI in upcoming VR and AR games, among other things. Then we flash forward again to Tales from the PizzaPlex number 7 Tiger Rock and the story Tiger Rock. In it, the Storyteller AI hub gets shut down, and a kid discovers a VR game nearby showing what the PizzaPlex will look like in 10 years. In it, he comes across the seemingly suave Tiger Rock, an animatronic white tiger with heterochromatic eyes. The dead son had a white tiger plushie that he loved, and the Storyteller's hub was a white tiger head with heterochromatic eyes. Tiger Rock appears to be nice at first, though has a malicious side, eventually ripping the kid's arms off for real.
Ho, brother, whoa, now. You got too much dip on your chip.
As for the epilogues, they tell the story of a group of teenagers who venture into the underground pizza place and discover a burnt endoskeleton capable of copying human voices, altering its size to fit into any suit it wants, even if there's already a person inside, and murdering people in grotesque ways. It had previously been told to rip the heads and arms off of endoskeletons, though eventually started doing it to anything even remotely humanoid. While the stories in the books aren't meant to be a direct explanation for what's happening in the game, they're meant to draw parallels so we can put the pieces together and figure things out. The existence of the Mimic program, the uses we're told it has, and seeing that the Mimic now exists in the universe of the games is a huge revelation that changes what we know about the Steel Wool era of Five Nights at Freddy's games. William Afton did die in Pizzeria Simulator. His story is over. The glitch trap virus from Help Wanted isn't Afton's consciousness manifesting as a computer virus, it's the Mimic AI program simulating William Afton. It just so happens to have the sci-fi ability to upload itself into people's minds, as shown in our good friend Tales from the PizzaPlex number 7 Tiger Rock story, The Monty Within. Artificial intelligence taking over parts of the human mind is just a reality in this universe that we have to accept. It's how Vanessa was controlled by the Mimic, and probably Gregory too. And Gregory may or may not be a robot, but that's a whole other can of Fazworms that we don't need to get into. As it pertains to the games, the Mimic is the new main antagonist of the series, which I imagine will be further explored in the upcoming Help Wanted 2 and whatever comes next for the Security Breach storyline after Ruin. I'd imagine it's either a sequel where Cassie and Roxy have to escape the PizzaPlex, and maybe that's when you'll be able to fix Roxy and potentially the others, or maybe we'll play as Cassie's father since he's mentioned fairly often and is known to have worked there, and have to try to find his daughter. But now, our time with Freddy Fazbear's Mega PizzaPlex is done for the time being. Well, since the universe loves proving me wrong, after saying Minerva's Den was the first time I've seen DLC done better than the main game, I have now seen it again. Everything about Ruin just feels like the game Steel Wool wanted to make the whole time. If not that, then it felt like a game that had something to prove, and it certainly did. Security Breach was a near universal disappointment that made many fans skeptical on the series' future, and this DLC addressed pretty much all of those problems. The story was tight and focused and managed to clean up the mess of Security Breach's multiple endings while still telling a great story of its own. It managed to look forward and backward at the same time, clearing up the confusion of before while giving new answers to recontextualize the past, and it pretty much all makes sense. I think the DLC lacks standout moments like the daycare, the endoskeleton corridors, and DJ Music Man, along with the aforementioned lack of actual danger, but the setting, storytelling, and gameplay were all strong enough to more than make up for that. I really like the plot twist of the entity actually being a force for somewhat good, with the prevailing idea being that Gregory and Vanessa worked together to program Mexis, and hopefully we'll eventually learn what that stands for, and the mimic twist at the end, even though pretty much everyone saw that coming miles away. I also love how Cassie is very clearly made out to be the opposite of Gregory. He was cold towards the animatronics and had no problem demolishing them, which we didn't really question because, yeah, that's what we'd do if giant robot murder bastards were after us, but we're not kids. Cassie is shown to actually care about them even though they look way less kid-friendly. Gregory rips pieces out of them. Cassie gives back what he stole. Gregory acts fed up with the whole thing and seems to only really care about Freddy, but even that is situational. Cassie presses on to save her friend and cries over having to deactivate Roxy, in what has to be the first time we actually see that kids actually do love these guys outside of some 8-bit minigames from eons ago. Speaking of Roxy, the payoff to her being Cassie's favorite is great, showing that these animatronics do have a capacity for good. It could be tied into the whole Tiger Rock storyteller thing where they're being influenced by an AI that is both a happy young child and a vicious murderer, or the focus could be on Roxy holding a grudge against Gregory yet letting Cassie go when she learns she isn't Gregory. Also, not to ruin that great moment towards the end, but how did Roxy recognize Cassie? She doesn't have eyes. She can clearly see the mimic at the end too. Maybe we were originally going to give Roxy her eyes back, but it was taken out? Or they just didn't consider that when making the game. The final score for Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin is a 7.5 out of 10. Though if I were to grade it on its own scale for being the only DLC to ever be rated differently than its base game, it would get an 8.5 for being Security Breach but better in almost every way. And it would retroactively boost the score of Security Breach as a whole from a 5 to a 7.
Yo, I'm gonna let you finish, but
Sam! The best comparison I can make is that the duo of Security Breach and Ruin is what should have happened with Outlast 2. Steel Wool actually addressed the issues with their game and made it their mission to clear up as much of it as possible. They didn't just ignore it and move on to the next project. Plus, it's free, so it feels even more like a natural add-on to the story that wraps up enough to feel satisfying but leaves enough open for further installments. And that's it, in what will probably be the last journey into everyone's favorite franchise of furry freaks and furious Freddys, because I don't do VR, and there don't seem to be any new games on the horizon, with all the efforts focused on Help Wanted 2 in the upcoming film. Next time, I'll actually be a man of my word and head back for a pretty uneventful stay in Gotham City. I hope to see you there.
Continue?
Horny, yeah!